If there's any game franchise that can ignite interest in a Nintendo console, it'll have to be the ever popular and ever evolving Mario Kart. The speed thrills, the almost unpredictable nature and ease of getting into the driving seat have sealed the deal. Mario Kart takes the crown for family-friendly multiplayer mayhem. With Mario Kart now in its 8th installment, excluding the arcade outings, does the Wii U release sustain the quality and fun that's been crafted together over the years? Let's take a look. The principal ideas have remained intact in each installment, with Nintendo characters zipping across a number of different environments, from fiendish castles to more traditional racing circuits, using power-ups in a bid to reach first place and achieve crowning glory. With the new Wii U release, it's a case of bringing together all the best aspects of the game into one very cohesive package, taking on a manner of different perspectives. Nintendo have been late to the game than others when it's stepping into HD territory, but it's truly strutting its stuff when it comes to the very sublime art style. There may have been some concerns that Mario Kart 8 would have been a simple upgrade of the now familiar aesthetic that's played out since Mario Kart Double Dash, but the Wii U release has come leaps and bounds in the presentation department. Intricate details have become known across each lap, creating a far grander sense of scale. The design doesn't quite roam into gritty, realistic territory, and it really doesn't need to. It maintains a rich, vibrant charm that Nintendo is known for, but it's making progress in accentuating the experience of milling about those fancy racing circuits. Everything is just less static, there's movement abound, and it makes the whole package seem that bit more alive. Particular highlights include Shy Guy Falls, where players will literally ascend a waterfall and cruise down at intense speed, made that bit more thrilling with the near boundless draw distance. Thwomp Ruins is littered with indoor caverns and tantalizingly warm outdoor sections. And Mount Wario seems initially like a fairly generic snowpath, but weaves in multiple sections, each built with strong attention to detail in every corner. The retro selection of further 16 courses come as a pleasant surprise. Each are redone seemingly from the ground up, some so much so that they're barely recognisable, enriched with new background elements and a sharper texture than the original. Even the set of courses from the 3DS versions have been souped up to sit with the rest. Royal Raceway, originally from Mario Kart 64, is a revitalised elegant garden, whilst Rainbow Road, also from the classic Nintendo 1997 racer, is a majestic thrill ride, painted with glistening glass panelled floors and a pulsating detail in every corner. The game may certainly look the part, but the most important aspect, especially with a racing game, is to ensure it runs and animates without a hitch. Mario Kart 8 has yet to show any signs of stumbling, with every moment gliding along, letting players focus on the task at hand. Trying to battle for first place and go for gold? Well, when we're playing with 1 or 2 players, the game runs at a nifty 60 frames per second. It's just noticeable how slick and how refined the game appears when in this mode. Mario Kart Wii suffered when adding more than 2 players. The frame rate issues were difficult to ignore. Fortunately, with Mario Kart 8, when you have more than 2 players, it runs at a solid 30 frames a second, letting those manic local multiplayer sessions go on without a hitch. There are, when grinding things to a halt and truly observing, some duff textures in places, with notable low resolution artifacts scattered across the grounds and some background environments, but these are hardly anything to detract from the experience given just how smoothly and rapidly everything runs. The quality and presentation also reverberates into the sound direction, with the vibrancy and richness from the live instrumentation helping highlight just how much work has gone into the production. Not all tracks come with live music, but it's certainly a much needed step up from the dated MIDI range in past Mario Kart titles. Trumpets blaring in the background, intense guitar solos and intricate drum work do sit well with the game, and for the most part don't detract from the action on the screen. The usual selection of faces return from the past titles, including Mario, Luigi, I can't do the rest, but Princess Peach, Daisy, the babies, Bowser, and so on. Even Bowser's family do seem like remixed versions of the core selection of racers, but they come with their own personality and stats. It is a shame though that Nintendo have been playing it a bit safe, with no true surprises in the selection of races available. Mario Kart 8 also heralds the return of two-wheelers from Mario Kart Wii, motorbikes. Given their absence from Mario Kart 7, some fans remain skeptical that Nintendo would revisit the popular vehicle type, but given how popular the Wii game was, it does make sense to re-include bikes in the new release. There were numerous complaints in the previous game that those who did use bikes had an unfair advantage, given the ease of gaining speed in tighter turns with specific models. However, using various different karts and bikes, the balance is more contained this time round, with the wheelies having been scrapped and tighter bike turning tweaked to be that little bit more fairer. Instead of dipping into corners straight away, bikes lean towards the outside before swooping into the critical turn. Karts also, for the most part, perform better in courses that aren't riddled with tricky turns. They benefit from added speed when going along a straight part of the track. Also making the return are the use of gliders and the ability to dive into water from Mario Kart 7. These both play nicely into the level design without detracting from the main ground races. Mario Kart 8 goes even further with the use of anti-gravity portions to literally have racers clinging onto ceilings or power sliding along walls. The concept sounds a bit strange, but potentially disorientating. However, thanks to the camera remaining in a fixed position, the race continues unhindered by the shift in perspective. The world appears to rotate, rather than the player. The sections are used whenever relevant, but they don't appear to be thrown in unnecessarily. At times, players may not even notice that gravity has been drained, with the only indicator being that your wheels have suddenly shifted into horizontal position. Mario Kart would be fairly dull without those generous heaps of items, and Mario Kart 8 provides even more balanced set for seasoned players. You've got the return of shells, mushrooms, invincibility, and so on, with the bullet bill, looper, fire flower, coin block, and bomb for the more recent entries. Newcomers include the nifty boomerang, which allows up to 3 throws, and a power-up starved piranha plant, plus the super horn, which can be used to deflect nearby racers and even avoid the spiny or blue shell if you time it correctly. Whew, gone is the rather pointless Tanuki tail and the pesky thundercloud in favour of items that are actually useful. In terms of control and controllers, those familiar with Wii, 3DS and GameCube will take to the wheel like Mario to a warp pipe. It's instantly familiar and accessible to those who are giving Mario Kart a go for the very first time. Like the Wii release, the standard remote and wheels are also supported and encouraged, but those wanting a more traditional feel can opt for the Wii Controller Pro or grasp onto the gamepad for either monologue or analog control. The button configurations are generally the same. You tap the shoulder or waggle the remote to jump to perform tricks, and you hold the shoulder button or trigger to form a power slide in the modern way. It feels tighter and perhaps slightly more weighted compared to previous releases, more in line with Mario Kart 7 than Mario Kart Wii in some ways. The gamepad is surprisingly lacking when it comes to its use or real purpose. It houses your map, current standings, horn, and optional off-TV support. It's functional but lacking. It's a shame Nintendo didn't incorporate a rear view camera or even support up to 5-player local races. For the most part, players will likely use the Wii Pro controller or Wii Remote nunchuck, and perhaps just house the gamepad on a stand to one side. Like the Wii and 3DS releases, the game includes 16 brand new courses, plus 16 retro circuits that have seen significant remake treatment. You've got the delicious candy-filled delights of Sweet Sweet Canyon to the intense foreboding Bowser's Castle. There are lots of returning themes and new ideas. One moment players will dash across the spooky banquet in Twisted Mansion, whilst literally swimming with the undersea critters in Dolphin Shoals. There's enough variety in the course design to tell interest, with lots of shortcuts and alternate paths to make it all feel that bit less linear. The meat of the game aside, the standard assortment of modes make a return, most being fairly self-explanatory. You've got both single multiplayer modes that include Grand Prix, Versus, Balloon Battles, Time Trials and online play. It's a shame though that the solo mode is again limited just to races and time trials and battles. There's little extra to really shake up proceedings. You could have had perhaps a mission mode like Mario Kart DS, or even adventure mode as seen in Diddy Kong Racing. Despite this lack of solo play, the Grand Prix CPU battles and online play would certainly provide a satisfying meal, if alone. Battles are a case of one step forward and, in some ways, a step back. The much regretted single balloon battles make a return, where players are eliminated from the main scoring portion of the competition once your balloons or lives have been cut to nothing. However, the arenas themselves are now modified versions of regular courses, rather than designed for battles in mind. Some of these work fairly well, including Yoshi's Valley, Donut Plains 3, but circuits like Moo Moo Meadows and Mario Circuit are just too spaced out to prove useful. To counteract the design somewhat, there is the option to perhaps perform a sharp U-turn in battle, but it doesn't do that much to counteract the feeling of continually going around. Whilst it is a fresh take on the classic battles in terms of stage design, it just doesn't quite hit the mark compared to stages in Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 64 for example. It's just disappointing. Online play does return to ignite competition around the globe, and it takes leaf out of Mario Kart 7 by adding more flexibility and options when compared to Mario Kart Wii. It remains consistent, streamlined, and it adds flexibility such as tournaments and item switches, but not quite up to the scratch of the amount of customizations available in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, for example. Once races have come to a close, you can grab and customize highlight reels in a Mario Kart TV feature. It includes a tool to slow down footage, change camera angles and produce short films to pick up the best or worst bits from races. It in itself becomes a rewarding element to the game, and surprisingly versatile given its inclusion as an extra. Have you managed to avoid a blue shell at the last minute whilst hurtling over the finish line? Well, these moments can be saved and transferred onto YouTube or Miiverse to watch time and time again. Without question, Mario Kart 8 comes as highly recommended for those with a Wii U already, or those considering buying Nintendo's home console. After 2 decades of racing, the Mario Kart Kingdom crew comes together in a package that ticks a lot of positive boxes: tight controls, exceptional course designs, brilliant music, and a scope for high-octane online and local races. Quite simply, Mario Kart 8 is sublime, and one of the best installments in the series so far.